The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey, greetings from Minneapolis. Coming to you cordless, everybody. It's Tuesday night, October 7th, 2025. I am Jim Peters, and welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night, number 280. This episode is Mark Your Scorecards at Home. Someday there'll be a test. Not this for Thursday, though, because this Thursday is my birthday. I'm turning 70. Actually, that's not true. My birthday is actually on Friday. We don't do a show on Friday. I'm actually getting in the car, and the missus and I are heading to eastern Wisconsin for a very long weekend to see some friends. But on Thursday night, all hell breaks loose. I might even have a little tipsy here. Who knows? That's terrible. Yeah, I'm a terrible person. You shouldn't know me. No one should. No one should. So, yeah, our guest tonight, Nils Grevillius. He's the Los Angeles detective. We've had him on before. He's in I don't even, it's really terrible. We taped his interview this afternoon. We didn't even mention his book. I don't even believe it. Although he did mention he has his autobiography coming out in June, and we're gonna have a big to do about that. Now, Nils is a really fascinating guy, so stay around and watch this. I'm really glad he came back. I mean, I'd like to. I told him we're gonna have him on regularly. So there aren't many people I've met who are more interesting than this man. So I'm looking forward to it. Tomorrow night, or you should look forward to it. Something like that. Whatever. Tomorrow night, Jennifer Oliver O'Connell, writer from Red State. She's also runs the As the Girl Turns Substack. She's going to be coming on. We have her on regularly, too. She's been writing a series of columns on Red State, or articles, about this guy in Maybe I've had a little tipsy right now. Huh? This guy in Des Moines, Iowa, who ran the school district there, who apparently did it for like 30 years and turns out he had no qualifications whatsoever. His entire life is one giant, and he's on top of that, he's an illegal immigrant. So there you go. And she's been writing that. She's been covering that. So we're going to talk to her about that among a bunch of other things. And Thursday, as I said, is my 70th birthday. The guest of record will be Tim Conaway, but we're going to have the whole phone lines open all night long. You can call up. I'm hoping. I've asked a bunch of regulars of the show here, friends of the show, to call in. So I hope they do. And yeah, and all good time hopefully be had by all. Now, because it's my birthday, we are taking next Monday and Tuesday off. As I said, we're going to eastern Wisconsin, almost the UP, not quite, 30 miles from there, to basically celebrate with some friends. And so we're going to be gone Monday and Tuesday. We will, of course, be running reruns as we always do. And we're running reruns on Friday now, too. And we'll be back. Let me see. On Wednesday, I think our guest is our old friend Larry Newman, bail bondsman extraordinaire and Bigfoot investigator. And on Thursday, Bill Jasper. He's the president of the John Birch Society, not to be confused with Wayne Morrow, who's the CEO of the John Birch Society, who we had on about 8 weeks ago. But this guy's the president. We'll find out what the pecking order is there. I don't know who's in charge of who. I know, we'll find out. And he's also the senior editor of the New American Magazine, which is a long time. I think that's been being published for like 80 years or something like that. So, yeah. And I thought I had a train of thought there. Now, what was it? We're going to make a bunch of announcements on Thursday. I've kind of previewed them. We're increasing our exposure, our footprint on TikTok significantly. And starting about in about 2 weeks, probably definitely before Thanksgiving, probably around the first of the month, uh, we will be doing shows on TikTok basically once a week. And I think it's going to be. I thought originally was thinking Friday nights. Now I'm thinking it's going to be Sunday nights. I think we're going to do it on Sunday nights. Those are going to be TikTok only shows. Now the way they will be live, and I don't know if you've ever done a live or been involved and ever looked at the live feeds on TikTok, but we have an hour. That's what we got. You don't. We can set the thing up so that you can be a guest. You can call in with your camera, and also you can chat too. And I will, because this is TikTok specific, I will see the chats, and I will actually I will chat along with you. That's the idea. It's a talk show. That's what we do. We talk. And if we can't talk, we type. I will do the talking. You can do the typing if you want. And we'll invite you to come on. All sorts of fun stuff like that. We're going to do that. And we're posting shorts on TikTok and on YouTube, and I'm astonished at the number of people who watch them. It's like, I mean, we have we have posted shorts on TikTok just in the last week that several thousand people have watched, which surprises me because I mean, I'll be perfectly blunt. The watching of the full shows have not been that great. It hasn't, but the shorts people are going nuts over. And so also I will announce this on Thursday for sure. I'm telling you because you're kind enough to show up here tonight. We're going to be posting interviews only on TikTok and YouTube too. So you can watch just the interviews if you want. Basically, we're going to make the slice and dice this whole thing to make certain that you can see it any way you want, as much or as little as you like. That's what we're going to do. But for now, tonight, I want to hold on a second. I want to make sure I got everything covered here. Yeah, I do. Okay. So in 12 seconds, Nils Grevillius. Stay tuned. Joining us from his office in Pasadena, California, Los Angeles private investigator. And I'm sorry, we discussed this before. You are an investigator and not a detective, right?
Well, I like to go by detective. Investigator sounds kind of passive, like working for an insurance company or something like that. Or the HR representative who wants to know why you're sending lewd photos to someone's secretary.
Yeah. Nils Grevillius is joining us from Pasadena. Yeah, Nils. Okay, so you're a detective. All right. Sorry about that. All right. My apologies.
But I'm certainly not a hairdresser, Mr. Peters. I think your audience should know.
Yeah, well, looking at you, I can kind of tell, but
I'm incredibly beautiful.
You are. You're a very, very handsome man. I told you that before, so you know that.
Well, you can compliment a man that way. If you say it about a woman, she'll go home and open a vein in the bathtub with some rose petals.
Yes, and could you tell me, Nils, why is that?
I don't know. It's a strange world, Mr. Peters.
It is.
And totally weird every day.
Totally strange. Totally strange. So, since you're a detective, and I thought we would just go down a few cases that have been in the news recently. And the first one's actually from this afternoon. There's a guy in San Francisco who killed 2 people while he was driving intoxicated. But it turns out he has been convicted of felonies 91 times and never done jail time. What the hell is going on here, Nils? How does this happen?
Well, he just won the gold medal in the Democrat Olympics, Mr. Peters. In what way has he not been protected? Don't tell me. Let me guess. He's an illegal alien too, right?
No, actually, he isn't. He's
okay. Yeah. All right. Well, he loses a few points for not being an illegal alien.
Right.
91 felony convictions. He's a parasite, but he's not as great a parasite as the apparatchiks who protect men like him, who perceive men like him as their natural constituency and filter men like him in order to achieve votes and get money from taxpayers to to manage the lives of men with 91 felony convictions who are out on the street. I promise you that he votes in every election, this man that you're speaking of.
And he does.
Whether he voted or not, he gets a ballot recorded in every single election, I promise you.
Right, whether he votes or not. Right. But Nils, explain this to me. This is the part I don't get. If they're courting these people as voters, well, I mean, maybe you just answer the questions, but I'll ask it anyway. They're relatively small. Guys who have 91 felony convictions are a relatively small part of the populace. If you're going after votes, that doesn't seem like a smart or efficient way to do it. Am I missing something there?
No, Mr. Peters, I think you're missing something here. They don't go after the vote. The vote is automatically tallied. It's called harvesting. The social justice employees of the Department of Human Services or whatever make sure that his ballot gets recorded whether he voted or not. That's
right.
It's the organization of SEIU, the Service Employees International Union, is the biggest Marxist super PAC in this nation. And that is the purpose of the ballot harvest. They have a living, breathing body who could vote in every election, whether he does or doesn't, but he does. You know, that's the shorthand. That's the subtext of it.
So Nils,
inventory. For them, he is inventory. Think about Walmart has pallets of bags of beans and rice and canned goods and that sort of thing. He is mere inventory for that machine.
Yeah. So if you're God, how do you stop this? Now, I'm not talking right now about his 91 convictions. I'm talking about the fact that he's inventory. How do you stop that?
Well, ID to register, ID to vote. No more absentee ballots for anybody other than military members and civilian employees of our government overseas. You have to be absolutely relentless and ruthless in this. Within our criminal justice system, Mr. Peters, you have to separate men who can be rehabilitated from those who cannot, and you must do so ruthlessly. What you're looking at here is the man with 91 felony convictions doesn't care about civil society. He doesn't care what you think, what I think.
Right.
He doesn't care about the laws. He's amused by the people with the hyphenated last names and the garbage degrees from the state-funded a-hole factories who are bleeding their hearts out for him. He doesn't care about them. He's glad to be out on the street to maraud. He's a psychopath. And let's define what a psychopath is for the audience. A psychopath is someone who has no conscience. It's been removed through a series of processes, usually involving random reward for negative acts. So in 91 felony convictions, he got rewarded over and over and over again by civil society. One of the most alarming characteristics of the psychopath, Mr. Peters, is his amazing ability to inculcate the institutional sympathy of dupes and civilians. Okay, so when you meet these people with the hyphenated names and the letters after their names who have all these expert opinions, we're being experted to death by these people. They're garbage, and you and I pay for every dime of it. Comes out of our pockets. They are the real parasites, as I said. That is the parasite class that is just below the plantation class running California. We have vast legions of very wealthy people who produce nothing and subsist entirely on taxpayer dollars, Mr. Peters.
So Nils, do you think that I've been talking to other people on here too about the fact that one of the primary problems with society is there's literally too much money floating around. You're talking about the fact there's a lot of people in California who are rich basically for no real reason, and the thing is, if you've made an enormous amount of money and it wasn't difficult, well, it's really easy just to, wantonly give it I don't know. You know what I'm talking about, right? I'm being clear here or not?
Well, we fund lots of garbage in our system. We need to put our government on a diet, a very strict diet, like
you do.
The sort of diet we would have a Czechoslovakian underwear model on so that her hips look nice, right? So That's the sort of diet our government should be on, Mr. Peters. We have people with garbage degrees who are presented to us as experts who couldn't feed themselves without a government issue can opener.
Right, right, right. Now, and you're touching on something else here too, and that is that it at in 2025 now at this point, college degrees have almost become worthless just because they're so easy to get.
Yeah, they're garbage.
Yeah,
They're homeless services funds, pretrial release funds, for all that's cryptocurrency for parasite class Democrats, Mr. Peters. That's all. It
yeah.
comes out of my pocket and your pocket. It gets filtered through government and goes right into their pockets, and then they reward all of the plantation class people to get reelected and that sort of thing. Gavin Newsom, Bunko Jerry, those people. That's what they live on. That's how they are in power. And with meaningful voter identification to register, it it changes drastically and almost overnight. California is not a 70-28 state. California is a 51-48 state.
What's it like living there right now? I lived there years ago. I mean, I can't, in my mind, if you look in the dictionary under the phrase sleazy politician, you see a picture, Gavin Newsom next to it. I mean, what are your thoughts about just living there? You thought about getting out and you hold it. You've been there for a long time too. How has it changed in the last 30, 40 years?
Well, we have 7,000 people living in the landscaping just along the Foothill Freeway between, say, the West San Fernando Valley and Pasadena.
Right. And I'm sure you're not exaggerating. That's the problem.
I'm not exaggerating. And then every public edifice is graffitied and nobody cleans it up because they kind of like it. It's their class of people. You and I pay for, it comes right out of my pocket. I pay for Marxist organization on the streets. That's NGO money. All these cute Blue Klux Klan people in their Portland tuxedos and their N95 masks are on public salary, either directly or indirectly. They work for city government, or they're union organizers with a government union, or they're with an NGO that takes government money. That's what they do. That's their whole lives. And so it's like living deep within enemy-held territory in a Marxist shit state, Mr. Peters. That's what it's like. But California is my home. California is beautiful. I'm willing to stay. I'm willing to stay here and fight for it.
Yeah, it is arguably the most beautiful state in the union geographically or topographically. There's no doubt about that.
They all came here for a reason, didn't they, Mr. Peters?
Yeah, that's true. They did. Yeah, I had to leave, and I regretted it. I liked living there. I like it, but that was the 1980s. It was a different world,
Yes, it was.
Hey, Nils, let me ask you, what have you been working on recently? I mean, without, I'm sure client confidentiality you can't really say. Or are you writing books right now, or what are you doing?
Well, I've just finished a book, essentially my professional memoir, which is entitled The Last Lawman, which will be released in June of 2026 on Post Hill Press. I'd love to introduce it to your readers when it's available.
You definitely will. We'll have you on for sure. We'll have you on before then. So it's like, but yeah, no, that's for certain. And I'm looking forward to reading it too.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I'm seeing criminally here. We're getting a lot of people stealing other people's houses, and they pick on immigrants. They look for Hispanic and Asian immigrants who have paid their houses off all the way down with no mortgage, and they do a quick claim deed on the house and then suck as much equity out of it as they can. And they'll even do cute things like, if you only owe $30,000 on your house, they'll go pay your mortgage off, get a reconveyance, quick claim it to themselves, and take as much equity out.
I never thought about that. It's actually worth their trouble to pay the mortgage off to get the rest of it out, isn't there? Never occurred to me.
Well, so the California Department of Justice is very slow moving and corrupt and compromised by the the ding dong who runs it, a character named Rob Bonta, who wants to be governor or president or something like that. He has uh, an IQ as would befit a potted daisy. He's that dumb. But it's not as if if he had brains, he would file anything against any of these people. I'm also seeing a crime a lot that we call pig butchering, which
what do you call it?
Pig butchering. It's a term of art peculiar to the U.S. Department of Justice. Let's say you have a wealthy man. Let's say that Mr. Peters is wealthy, and he meets a cute girl online who's messaging him on Facebook, and she convinces him that she's in love and that she needs him to invest $1 million in cryptocurrency so she can get her family out of Thailand or something like that. And then, of course, the money disappears, and he never hears from her again. And he goes and makes a report to the FBI, and the FBI doesn't do anything. Well, that was going on for years. Well, suddenly the FBI is filing on these cases now. And the way that it works is they have accomplices in the U.S. who help them to get it through the bank and everything else, who are Americans. And often they are unwitting dupes in it themselves. They don't know they're involved in a crime scheme. They think they're managing money for a wealthy man who's overseas, and it's a work-at-home scheme. And ultimately they get robbed too. So the reason that the Justice Department up until about 5 months ago wasn't moving on these, Mr. Peters, is because they called it pig butchering. In other words, the victim deserved to be robbed as far as government agents were concerned. They were hiding money from the government potentially, so that they deserved to lose their $1 million.
I think that's disgusting.
It is disgusting. So I've seen a lot of that. It's usually disguised as a sweetheart swindle. They go after mostly men, but also women too. That's one thing. Here's another thing that was supposed to be of great benefit to us all, and it's called marijuana.
Yeah.
You probably saw that Mark Siegel, the doctor who's the expert that they have on Fox pretty frequently to talk about health affairs,
right,
talked about cannabis psychosis in relation to this mass shooting and arson at the Mormon church a couple of weekends ago. The Marine veteran, and also the Marine veteran in North Carolina who shot from his boat into a restaurant on shore. That was also cannabis psychosis. I've been seeing a lot of cannabis psychosis. Cannabis has been an absolute scourge in this state. The state is not getting the tax revenue they promised the citizens by legalizing it for recreational use. We have organized crime people getting dupes to front for them, civilians with no criminal records front for them, and they have legal cannabis enterprises that pay the bare minimum in taxes and just use it as a front for distributing fentanyl, cannabis, heroin, ecstasy, cocaine, methamphetamine, anything you could think of. And cannabis has been a long-term problem in California. Up in the Emerald Triangle, up Modoc and Humboldt counties, that area. Humboldt County is the most sparsely populated county in the state. I think the grand total population in that county is maybe 40, 50,000 people, Mr. Peters. It accounts for 54% of our unsolved missing persons cases are reported out of that county.
Really?
I'm not kidding.
My
so
God.
So it's local gangsters partnering with cartels, the Mexican cartels, to distribute cannabis all over the country. And legal cannabis is the front, the cover for the illegal.
Right.
When a cop pulls Mr. Peters over and finds a bag of dope in his car, the cop can't tell legal dope from illegal dope. And the cop knows that if he books Mr. Peters for possession, there's only a 1 in 10 chance that the county prosecutor is going to file anything on Mr. Peters, right?
Yeah.
It's the problem that we had with the war on drugs that George Bush, the first waged, was it was a war on users, on addicts. The way that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth and Pam Bondi are going after it is much wiser. With aerial strikes, on people importing illegal drugs to this country. That's much wiser. We can't stamp out cannabis. You'll never get rid of it. But the way to go about it is, I'll give you an example. Between 1988 and today, the government waged a very successful psyop against American consumers. In 1988, 47% of this country was addicted to nicotine of the adult population.
Right.
Now it's down to about 11%.
Mm-hmm.
And that was due to the psyop that they waged, raising taxes on it and making it uncool and making it look like you're an idiot and you're a public burden if you're smoking cigarettes or whatever. So the government should be waging a psyop against cannabis, warning people of the dangers of cannabis psychosis. What is cannabis psychosis, Mr. Peters? It's paranoid schizophrenia.
Yeah.
This high concentrate THC in the organic stuff, and even more so in the synthetic vape, is just off the charts. Anybody with a predisposition, a familial predisposition to paranoid schizophrenia, could stay far, far away from cannabis. It's not uniformly this way. There's some people who can smoke cannabis without issues like this, but I'm seeing people who go missing who have never had problems before. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had 2 mass shootings involving honorably discharged Marine Corps combat veterans who had lapsed over into paranoid schizophrenia at the age of 40. Okay. Typically, schizophrenia, when it occurs organically, that's in between ages 17 and 24. So
Right.
these men were able to successfully navigate the Marine Corps, go through training, serve honorably within the military, and then suddenly this at age 40. This is a scourge. Anybody who treats it lightly is either a fool or a criminal.
These 2 Marines, did they engage in smoking cannabis like to blunt their PTSD, or is just strictly recreational, or do you know any sort of trends in that regard?
Well, there are a lot of quote unquote experts on PTSD who tell veterans to take psilocybin mushrooms, to use cannabis, to use low-grade cannabis, high-grade cannabis, that sort of thing. In July of 2024, the author, Evan Wright, who used to write for Rolling Stone, who wrote Generation Kill, which was about his being embedded in the Marines in Iraq, was smoking high-grade cannabis for PTSD. He took his own life. He ate his gun. Okay.
Is there any sort of thing? Does low grade cannabis even exist? I mean, all I see is,
I think it's been GMO'd out of existence.
yeah, that's
Mr. Webb, I mean, the growers don't grow it. There's no profit in it.
right. I mean, I maybe used cannabis in my youth, my 20s, maybe a dozen times. I didn't like it. It didn't agree with me, but I haven't used it since. But my impression is it's way, way stronger than it was 30 years ago. Right.
That may very well be. I'm not a cannabis user myself. I have to deal with the consequences of it, though.
Yeah.
When a couple of years ago, I had a very successful, high-profile grad student in a chemistry program at a prestigious college go missing, and her European parents contacted me to find her. She had never had a difficulty in her life. I found her booked as a Jane Doe in a hospital in another county. She'd been wandering around in traffic and got hit by a car and had no idea who she was. The way she was identified was with her fingerprints.
And my impression too is that the regulations in California for legally selling cannabis are so arcane and ridiculous that there's still a huge black market for it, right? Even though it's legal. Isn't that
even the legal is just cover for the black market. The black market is huge. The quote unquote legal market is just a front for the black market. It's all the same. And the people running the dispensaries rob each other. They rob their customers. They rob their growers. 10 years ago, I had a woman come to me whose husband was a retired law enforcement officer, and she had gotten a nice settlement in their divorce. And she owned a nice house with a large garage. And some consultant had talked her into growing cannabis in her garage. This was back in the medical marijuana charade, back when they were calling it that. And she, was a good little girl and knew how to garden, and she grew a huge garage full of cannabis. And then the guy showed her how to cure it, and she did all the labor herself lovingly and packaged up her product and thought she was going to be making, like $250,000 for a summer's worth of work, that sort of thing. And they go to sell the cannabis to the buyer, and they get held up at gunpoint, and away goes the cannabis. Well, the guy who did the robbery was just an accomplice of the so-called consultant. It was a setup from the start. Right. And I see these things over and over and over again. You don't think that people who risk their freedom running an illegal distribution network for 100+ years are just going to surrender their profit margin to civilian investors? They're not going to do that. They're going to bend them over and horsefuck them. I'm sorry for using such bad language on your radio show. Your producer will have to blank that one out. But that's what's going on, Mr. Peters.
Do you the thing about the thing about the legal cannabis being a cover for the black market, was that intentional? Was this whole thing set up to run this way, or are the politicians too stupid to even figure that out?
They're stupid and they're greedy, and it was foreseeable. Those of us who know anything about the drug business warned them, and they went ahead and did it anyway. And they have the same result in Colorado, Mr. Peters. They've got an incredible problem with people disordered, paranoid, schizophrenia, cannabis psychosis, etc. People driving on the highway at 10 miles an hour, things like that.
Right.
Cannabis is a scourge. It hasn't done anything for us. It's only done something to us. Anybody arguing otherwise is an idiot, okay?
Yeah.
Or a criminal.
Well, Nils, I have to tell you, I have people coming on the show who are saying they're very insistent on this, that all this stuff that we're talking about that's dragging the society down is all intentional. This is all like a globalist cabal of people. And I know people think that's conspiracy theory, but I have a tendency to agree myself. I think that all this is happening, although I still don't. And let me ask you, what do you think the end game is here? I still don't quite know what that is.
Well, it's easy. It's divide and conquer. Okay, so when you consider the high-grade cannabis problem, add to that, how about AI? There was an article in Wired magazine 2 weeks ago about something called AI psychosis. Well, it's not a psychosis, it's a personality disorder.
Right.
The way that you create a psychopath is through random reward for negative acts. Mr. Peters doesn't need a bad home environment to become a psychopath now. He can get it from his phone. He can have an imaginary AI girlfriend in his phone who tells him what a study is because he does this or he does that, and reads everything that he writes and tells him to sharpen up this and be more insulting this way. And so they get the emotional boost, the flow of endorphins from interacting with digital code. Okay, so that's something to consider.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, Nils, for a long time, I just think that's sick. You can't have the relationship with a voice on your phone. I mean, it may be amusing. I talk to Alexa here, and just every once in a while, just so she amuses me. But other than that, I don't consider that a relationship. I mean,
Well, but you're not vulnerable. You're not on the autism spectrum. You're not somebody with a pre-existing drug habit. You're not somebody who's being isolated by abuse or trauma. Okay, all of those people are vulnerable to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so add
fentanyl. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Add fentanyl to it. Fentanyl causes 6 to 8 Americans to be delivered every single day to the coroner's office in Los Angeles County dead. That's just Los Angeles County. My idiot governor goes out and tells everybody that firearms cause more death among the young than all the other causes combined. It's bullshit. It's fentanyl by a country mile. I think we're losing 90,000 people a year in this country.
Right.
If a foreign invader came in and did this with a gun, we would wage war on them. Okay.
That's why I don't understand. I mean, Trump's talking about going into Mexico and literally dropping bombs on these people. I don't understand why anybody hasn't done it sooner. I mean, it is literally the definition of a terrorist organization. I don't understand why people, it's like, oh, but it's a foreign country and all this sort of stuff. Well, that's what war is. People seem to don't understand. War is really, really unpleasant. That's the point.
Let's talk about a couple of other things that could affect people on broad scale. Searchable internet porn. It's not like it was when you were looking at your Playboy magazine when you were in the 6th grade and your mother got mad at you and yelled at you. Jimmy, throw that thing in the garbage. That kind of thing. It shapes human behavior, particularly in young males.
Right.
But females too. Females are increasing consumers of pornography, searchable pornography.
You're absolutely right. I know statistics prove that. Yeah.
AI will be used to seamlessly thread in explicit, bizarre, perverse sex into every classic you could ever consider, whether it's Bambi, Snow White, Gone with the Wind, Chinatown, whatever. AI will do that. They will be able to do that with AI. Okay. Yeah. And people who are sex compulsives will become more sexually compulsive because they're getting a bigger endorphin rush from it. They also get an endorphin rush from imagining how people react to what it is that they've done. Let's consider something else. There was an article about Stanford University using AI to design and develop viruses. Let me take it to the next level for you, Mr. Peters. What if I'm going to weaponize viruses like they do at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, right?
Yeah.
And I get a hold of Mr. Peters' DNA, and Mr. Peters, I don't like Mr. Peters. I want Mr. Peters to go away forever. And I engineer a virus using AI to tailor it. And what used to take 10, 12, 20 years in a laboratory can be done in a week and a half now.
Right.
To winnow out that which is undesired from that which is desired. And I can transmit a virus into your county that affects no one other than you if I tailor it to your DNA.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so these are all things that could affect us on a mass level. What if the real goal of releasing COVID-19 wasn't to infect everyone? What if the real goal of the COVID-19 release was to test our response, to see how much we would come to hate each other?
Nils, that I've been saying that the entire time. This whole thing was an experiment. They wanted to see what was going to happen. That's what I said.
It was a psyop, and we still have people trapped in the matrix of it. You see these idiots driving around in their cars alone with a mask on, things like that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have COVID Karens telling us to do this and to do that, and they sound rather vaccinated, don't they? All of that. Well, the experiment was wildly successful. It's almost like the Milgram experiment, where they convinced people that they were going to have to kill somebody in a group of people, that sort of thing. So
except it was done on a global scale. That's the thing you're talking about. This was literally released. I mean, you couldn't have done it any more perfectly. It's an Occam's razor thing to me. It's like, okay, so the Chinese are sitting around and saying, well, all right, let's see what happens if we get a release of a global virus. And then somebody says, all right, so let's make the virus not too deadly. I mean, it does kill people, but the flu kills people too, So same thing. We'll make it a little deadly and send it out and then tell people it's worse than it is. And let's just see what happens. And we failed miserably.
Well, so I have people in my own household who tell me how deadly it is. You know, Mr. Peters, I keep pointing out to them, well, those 7,000 people living in the landscaping along the freeway between my home and my office would all be wiped out, wouldn't they? And then the answer is, well, they're out in the open. How could they possibly catch COVID? They're not close to each other. Well, garbage. They catch the flu, they catch the clap, they
Yeah.
catch typhus, they catch everything else. Why wouldn't they catch COVID-19 and die? Those should be graveyards, right? They're not.
But Nils, doesn't this attest also just to the arrogance of Americans? I bet the people you're talking about, your friends and relatives, probably know almost nothing about actual science. They probably haven't read about this, or it's like, and I'm not a scientist, but the thing is, there are people who have enormous judgments about scientific issues that really don't bother to study them at all, not the least bit.
Well, there's a lot of arrogance involved, Mr. Peters, and people want to be on the winning side, don't they?
Yeah.
It's so great to get tribal over it. And I refused in 20 and 21 to participate in a couple of podcasts because all they wanted to talk about was COVID-19. And what I said to the host was, you are feeding into the psyop by relentlessly talking about it. I don't want to discuss it. I don't want to give this monster any oxygen. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's right. So we absolutely have to pay attention to things. Here's the other thing I think COVID was designed to do was to break down national borders. Okay?
Yeah.
Your border has to mean something. When somebody comes at me and tells me, "Oh, I'm a citizen of the world," I think to myself, Pol Pot would have. I mean, when Pol Pot was confronted about his wholesale murder of his own citizens, he said, "Every single thing I did for my people."
Yeah.
That was his outcry.
Right.
Ultimately, every socialist utopian movement, Mr. Peters, is just a death cult.
Yeah.
The People's Temple, the National Socialist Workers' Party. These were all socialist utopian movements, and they were all death cults.
Right. All result in disaster. And I don't understand where, if you're a college kid today and you think socialism is a great thing, I don't understand how you can look at history and not conclude otherwise. I don't understand.
They're illiterate. They've been made illiterate by the teachers that they have. They come up with these garbage degrees in teaching from garbage state-funded universities, that sort of thing, and they teach them to feel, not to think.
Right.
There is no more critical thinking. There is no reading, writing, arithmetic. Look at the inner city schools, and it occurred to me, I was recently thinking on this. I was talking with Dita Sullivan, who's like an expert on Caribbean music, just the other day. It is not accidental that they have done this, that they have created whole school systems in the inner cities where minority children are taught struggle studies primarily, that they have been oppressed, that they have been stepped on, that their ancestors were in chains. And some of this stuff is true, okay? But they don't teach them how to unlock the chains.
Right.
They tell them that they are victims of something that is immutable, that they can't go up against, or that it is incumbent upon them to wage war against that which has chained them up, and that sort of thing. So they have created a whole class of people who are simultaneously entitled, infuriated, and inept. And there is no more dangerous a population that you could possibly think of than that.
That's well put, Nils. It really is. And you're absolutely right. They're using history because, yes, some of this stuff is true. But even in the case of racism and the 1619 Project, well, you're talking about stuff that happened 150 years ago. There's not
500 years ago.
Right.
And, okay, so if you really analyze it and compare it to history, this is Trotskyite. This is Trotskyism is what it is, which is like a rare hybrid of Marxist-Leninism. And Randy Weingarten, more than anybody else, I think is the author of the fuckery that we saw with the COVID-19. He's the head of the National Education Association. She empowers teachers to just live as parasites on the school district. They don't teach. They are there as daycare for themselves. They don't, there's no real concern about what students are learning. I'm not saying that all teachers are like that, but that's what the union does. And the union the union is a Marxist super PAC.
Yes,
and it's so funny. They fund a political party that claims they want to get the big money out of politics while taking tens of millions of dollars from groups like the National Education Association. I don't know why they call it an education association. The U.S. Department of Education absolutely needs to be shuttered, needs to be strangled like a two-headed puppy and thrown in the river.
I don't understand how anybody takes Randy Weingarten seriously. I just consider it literally a human joke, but people do. She's got a book. I think her new book, it just came out last week, is called, what's it called? Something about your teachers aren't fascist, or I can't remember. It's a ridiculous title and a ridiculous book, and she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about.
You know what she's talking about? She's trying to drive her own getaway car. Okay, and
well put. That's right.
The shit-given political media gives her a tongue bath whenever she shows up on NBC, ABC, etc. Oh, Randy, you're so wanted the head of the national education. He's all for educating our children. I feel so good about it.
Yeah.
It's garbage. It's Trotskyism is what it is.
And you were talking about college. About William Ayers said 30 years ago, he said, we will take over the country by infiltrating your children. I mean, he said that straight out, and I have to admit, I didn't see it coming, but he was right. They did.
I saw it a long time ago. There was an article they were talking about PC, politically correct, in Time magazine in 1990, which sort of the tone of using the term politically correct.
Yeah.
And I'd taken a lot of courses in counterinsurgency and low-intensity conflict at the U.S. Army Intelligence School. And all it is dialectic Leninism. And in dialectic Leninism, everything is intensely binary, Mr. Peters. That which doesn't help the revolution is an enemy of the revolution and must be isolated and eliminated and shut down. And so PC is dialectic Leninism. Another way to characterize it is vanilla Sharia. It is Sharia law for people who don't believe in God. Okay? They have to, and it's not enough for them to disagree with you. They must actively shut you down and suppress what you say, what you think, that sort of thing. It was just 3 years ago, that Elon Musk bought Twitter and turned it into X. You remember, you could get shut, and I was shut off of Twitter for what I was posting on Twitter. I was permanently banned from Facebook in 2022 under an accusation of stochastic terrorism, which is where words are violence, and they couldn't quantify what words I had uttered that were the violence. I was permanently banned.
Well, this show was banned in 2023, so 6 months after we started. So it's the same thing. I understand. It's
right. So the way that we get away from this is by punishing criminality. And I mean criminality in public officials as well. Any government official that went to Twitter or Facebook with a list of Americans to be banned for the private company to do what the government could not belongs in jail. If a man can or a woman can go to prison just for being in the Capitol during a protest, they can get a 4-year sentence for that. Let's put some of these government officials, some of these Justice Department people like Elvis Chan, put them in front of a federal grand jury for conspiracy against rights and see what a trial does with them.
It seems that they never end up, facing consequences. And that's actually that's the theme of what you're talking about here. Is we would come to an America where no one faces any consequences for any ill behavior.
Well, I certainly did, and you did. But you're correct. We live in almost a consequence-free society. That's why California has 68 people, like just in Los Angeles County, dying of fentanyl overdose every day. They no longer go to jail. Now, jail isn't a cure for narcotics addiction, but authentic, natural consequences help save lives.
Yeah.
A man shouldn't go to prison for 10 years for possessing heroin or fentanyl, but if you put him on a 3 week stint in jail with no medical detox, no harm reduction meds, and he had to kick heroin and fentanyl in jail, you do that to him 3 times in 1 year, he's done. The psychic pain of having to kick the narcotics is so much that when he exits the jail, he says to himself, "I never want to go through that again." If you make it too cushion easy, he has no reason to change.
Right. No one does for anything.
Right. I mean, they would never advocate this with drunk driving unless you were an illegal alien. If Nils and Jim Peters went down and drank 8 pitchers of beer and got in their cars and went out on the interstate and that sort of thing, they wouldn't want us to walk free from a drunk driving, right?
No.
But if you're an illegal alien, you can do it over and over again.
Yeah. Well, Nils, this has been really depressing.
No, Mr. Peters, we're in the catbird seat here.
Yeah.
Let me give you.
Yeah, please do.
My lucky number is 1. And I don't mean it's just me looking out for myself. What I mean is when I'm outnumbered, I'm in the position of advantage. I'm never going to run out of targets, am I?
Yeah. But is that because you're trained to do that? I mean,
no. Training just refines the thing, right? Think about it. Let's say a gun. What is a gun? A gun is a crescent wrench. It's a tool, right?
Right.
Jim Peters is the weapon.
Yeah.
Just a tool.
That's for sure.
Right.
I keep, no one seems to notice that Chicago has some of the toughest gun laws in the nation, and yet people are shooting each other left and right. No one seems to notice that.
So does Mexico. Mexico has great gun laws, and everybody's armed to the teeth and murdering each other, aren't they?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it's weird. I wonder why they have those laws. How come nobody does anything about
it? I don't know, Nils. They don't listen to us.
They don't. No. Just like Chicago, they don't want to.
No, they don't.
The law was public relations, and laws are used to punish enemies and reward allies. All right? In a system of Marxist spoils, that's what occurs. You do realize during the Ukrainian famine of 1937, one Ukrainian man said to the other Ukrainian man, "Wait until Comrade Stalin finds out what these apparatchiks and commissars have been doing to us, brother, and he's going to land on them good and proper." Well, both of those Ukrainian men starved to death, didn't they? Waiting for Comrade Stalin to come to their aid.
That's right. All right, I'm gonna end this with one last question, Nils. Do you think it's inevitable? Do you think the socialist takeover of the world is? I mean, it seems it's a constant fight. Do you think it's inevitable that's going to happen? I don't know. Maybe in 20 years from now, maybe 300 years from now, but
it's something that we'll always have to battle as a constantly self-replicating political bacillus. Here's the problem. Okay, you and I take away all of the socialists. Let's say that in a perfect world we could make them disappear. We could fly them to Mars or something, right?
Okay. All right.
And we could stamp out every copy of Engels' book, of John Reed's book, The 12 Days That Shook the World. We could stamp out all of Marx's teachings, that sort of thing. Some bright, bushy-eyed idiot in an Ivy League university would find a copy, a dusty copy on the back shelf and read it and think that he had found the keys to the kingdom. And it is a constantly self-replicating political bacillus that is wildly attractive to people who lack power. And power is an irresistible narcotic for the weakling. What Marxists do is they convince people of something that is not true, that there is something for nothing. Okay, they're just like Charles Ponzi. there's vast wealth and riches for all of us, plenty of it, comrade. We just have to go take it from the horrible people sitting on it.
Yeah,
They've been
you're not,
robbed through all
and
the lives matter.
you're not just talking economically. You're talking metaphysically too. I mean, yeah, right,
All of it. Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's well put, Nils.
Why is baseball the preferred sport of communists?
I don't know why.
Because you can win through passive aggression, fooling the umpires. That's why.
Never occurred to me ever. Nils, you're a brilliant man. I love talking to you. So we'll have
It's
you.
my sincere pleasure, Mr. Peter.
We're gonna have you before your book comes out next summer. We'll have you on many times. So I hope you're willing to come back again.
It's
I'm Welcome to the Gymcast for Tuesday, October 7th. This is the part of the show where I tell you all the weird news that nobody else reports on, as is my want. And I love doing it too. This is a good thing. Okay, first thing, Nokia, the cell phone provider, manufacturer, went out of business. They were basically the original cell phone manufacturer on the planet. Norwegian company originally. I don't think they are anymore. I didn't bother to look. I had in 1998, the missus and I got matching Nokia cell phones. They were analog. And I know you may not believe that, but that's really true. That happened. There were analog cell phones at the beginning, not digital, analog. So they were basically walkie-talkies, basically is what they were. And we got them, we're living in Minneapolis and we're driving around a lot. And here, getting stuck in the snow in the winter is a very real thing. And these were pretty expensive. And we were also paying by the minute too, to use them. And we justified it. The missus and I justified. Well, we're only going to use them for emergencies. Well, bullshit. That went out the window in about 15 minutes. It's like, and you couldn't do anything with them. And there are no screens on them. Little LCD, typing. You couldn't. There was no text messages. And now that I think about it, and this was not in the article, I think Nokia actually invented the concept of text messages. And if I'm right, as I'm pulling out from my butt here, my memory, if I'm right, it originally happened so that repairmen for the cell towers could contact each other. It wasn't a public deal. They built this into the system. You could send 140 characters, and they thought, well, no one's going to want to use this. And somehow somebody stumbled onto this somewhere, and the whole thing took off. And then now you have your messaging thing, which I don't have to tell you, Gen Z doesn't want to talk to you on the phone. They want a message. Everyone's messaging. That's what the phone's for. Or if it's really business and it's formal, then you send an email. That's formal now. I remember sending emails in the early 1990s. There were people you basically had email conversations with because it was so novel and no. I had a friend of mine. We had she wasn't even a friend. She was basically a business associate, but we started doing this for like several years. We had running email conversation, and my association with Tom Snyder, the legendary broadcaster who people compare me to constantly, and I take that as that's a compliment to me. Started as an email conversation. I never met Tom, but for several years we had an email conversation going on, and that started. I actually had to look that up because it was when he was with CNBC. I think it was 1997. I think it was. It was before 2000. Email was not that ubiquitous. There weren't a lot of people that had it, relatively speaking. And so, Tom and I were emailed back and forth about basically bullshit for years. It was just like it's just a funny little mail conversation about stuff that interested us. and that was pretty cool. That's how I knew him. If you want to say I knew him, like I said, I never actually met him in the flesh. I never did. But and that was kind of cool. That went on for several years, basically just before he passed away, which was kind of cool. But anyway, Nokia's done. They're over. And speaking of cell phone service, so what happened, and you might have heard about this in the news perfunctorily, in New York City, they actually, I think this is in New Jersey. I don't want to bore you and actually look here while, but I'm going to, aren't I? Yeah. It was in New Jersey, if I'm right. The FBI busted a racket. It was in New York City. It was actually in New York City, and it was near the United Nations building. They busted a racket of several. I think it was in an apartment. Even they had like several dozen servers and several 100,000 SIM cards hooked up to them with the intent of basically disrupting cell phone service in Manhattan. And this, okay, so you're thinking, well, that's kind of bad, but it's actually worse than that, because the thing is, there's all sorts of ancillary devices and services that use the cell phone transmission services. And as far as information is concerned, this could have been a huge deal. Now, then the amazing thing is now they've discovered these same types of things in other cities on the East Coast, and they've figured out that, first of all, this might be a coordinated effort of somebody to actually majorly disrupt cell phone service in the U.S. And they think it's the Chinese. Geez, you think so? You think the Chinese actually want to disrupt American society? I don't know. It's like, well, they got nothing better to do. You know, they're communists. They're not making any money. So anyway, that's terrible. And then and that gets us to Meta, Mark Zuckerberg and his wonderful company. And okay, you know something. So here's the deal, and I'm going to announce this on Thursday on my 70th birthday show. We got back on Facebook. We got back on Facebook a couple weeks ago. I'm pulling this off. I don't want to deal with this anymore. First of all, we got banned from Facebook about 6 months after the show started in 23, in late 23, and that's because apparently I said some things about climate change they didn't like, and I had a couple of guests on that did the same thing, and they banned us. And first, they just shut the account down, and I wrote them. I said, well, "What's going on? What happened?" And they wrote me back and said, "Okay, we're really sorry. This was a mistake. We reinstated your account." And they did reinstate my account, but not the page for the show. The page for the show got banned permanently, but my account got reinstated. Oh, geez, that's fantastic. So we got back on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. We set up a new account, set up a new page. You know, and I'm tired of it. I'm done. First of all, the interface sucks. It sucks. It's terrible. And basically, and this is the reason we're on TikTok, and I've become a TikTok convert. Basically, is because the only way to really promote anything on Facebook is to pay them. Otherwise you're stuck in the wilderness. There's no there, and I talked about this last night. There's no real legitimate virality way to go viral on Facebook and most of the other services. It's the basic deal is the best way to get popular is to already be popular. That's the basic deal. TikTok busted that, and that's one of the reasons they're so popular. I think is because you can legitimately go viral on TikTok. You can. The other services, you need a boot. You know, you need to boost your post or your account or whatever the fuck it is. And I'm really, I don't want to deal with these people anymore. They've been mean to me basically, and unfortunately, it's our perfect demographic. I mean, you know, I'm not fooling anybody by saying the people who watch the show are generally older. I know that. So, and the older people, you know, grandpas on Facebook, you know, everyone else is on all the other stuff. And so that's one of the reasons, but I'm tired of it. But at any rate, the story is about Meta here, about the fact that Meta is now going to be using AI to personalize ads in Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram. We've never been on Instagram because when we started here, they weren't even doing video. So I didn't. This is a video show. Oh, I mean, when I was editor chief of Con News, we did podcasts, but they were all audio. We thought about doing video, but the problem was the people in our office and several of our regular guests didn't want to be on camera, and so we just never did it. When I started this show on my own, I thought, no, I want to do video. And then we started. We were on Broad Talk Radio for a couple of years, and that worked out fantastic, actually. But they folded, and they were handling our RSS feed for the audio transmission. And since then, we've been doing. I mean, I'm not the only person who thinks this. I've had friends tell me, no, it's a video show. It's a TV show. You are not doing radio. Now, I kind of am. I got a big microphone here. I'm talking. I got a pretty good radio voice. I'm used to it. But no, this is people. Well, people want to actually watch. So. Well, I'm just going on and on. And what the hell's wrong with me? Oh, that's what's called the Gymcast. So anyway, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, they're going to use AI to feed you personalized ads. They're going to change the ads in real time to go to you personally. Isn't that great? That's terrific. That's fantastic. All right, so and I put this in the description for the show tonight. Director Ridley Scott, who's directed a zillion Alien, Blade Runner, especially. I have a little story here. I ended up going to the Hollywood premiere of Blade Runner because there was Joe Turkel, the guy who plays the famous inventor in the movie. I ran into his Mercedes in Beverly Hills, and yeah, a little fender bender, but shit, it's a Mercedes, So it was a lot of money at the time anyway. And we exchanged information, and he so I gathered up the money and I called him. I said, I don't know why he didn't want to run it. He said, I'm not going to run this through insurance. He said, you pay me, and I called him back and I said, I have the money for the accident. And he said, I thought I'd never hear from you again. I really thought you were going to. And I said, no, I got it. So I paid him. I went over to his house. We had a nice chat, and he said, "Well, he said, I want to thank you for doing this." He said, "I got up with a couple tickets to a movie that's premiering that I'm in next week, and it's called Blade Runner." And said, "Here, why don't you take a friend?" And it's really cool. And I took this woman I was just crazy about. I was just really, really crazy about this girl, and we went to the movie. No one at the time knew it was going to be the big cult classic it was. Now it was, so we went. It was at the Egyptian Theater, and we went, and it had a really good time, and it was a good movie. If you had asked me that night if this movie is going to be one of the top sci-fi movies in history, I don't know if I would have said yes. I thought, yeah, it's a good movie. But anyway, that's my story regarding Blade Runner. So anyway, Ridley Scott's Breitbart quoted him recently. He said he doesn't go to the movies anymore, and his exact reason is, the quote is, because most movies are shit. That's what he said. Yeah, and he's right. I don't go to the movies either. The last time I went to a theater was before COVID, so it was over 5 years ago. And I remember the missus and I went. Neither one of us can remember the movie we saw. All we remember is it was okay. It wasn't great, wasn't bad, and we dropped $100. Two people going to the theater to see a movie, and we dropped $100. Geez, I wonder why no one leaves the house. I have Netflix. I pay for Netflix. Here's an endless swath of a stream of entertainment coming into your house. $12 a month, and I'm going to go to the movies and spend $100 on popcorn. Yeah, terrific. And the movie isn't that good, right? And he's right; they aren't. I don't go to the movies anymore. I don't. So yeah, he would know too. I mean, he's making them. And speaking of movies being shit, and I don't know if this is a shit thing per se or not. So there's this big thing. I don't know if you've seen this online about a woman. Her name is, hold on, I'm going to find it. It's Tilly Norwood. And the thing is, she's an actress, but she's not a real actress. She's AI generated. She's completely AI generated. And the 2-minute clip, and I actually should have played it. I never thought about that. because it's easy to find. It's not all over the place. There's a 2-minute clip of her, which is basically kind of a quote unquote highlight reel of things she's done. It's not there. None of it's real. None of it. I mean, the whole thing, the movies aren't real. The clip is it's all AI generated. At any rate, yeah, it's really, you can't, I played this for my wife. You can't watch this and think, and it would never occur to you that this is fake, Anyway, she's looking for believe it or not, an agent. And the real actors and actresses in Hollywood have said, well, if you have told the major representation firms, if you take this AI woman, we're going to boycott you. I don't think well, I don't know if she needs it. I don't know if she needs an agent. Maybe this is just all a publicity thing. I have no real idea. I don't. But this is going to be the future of films. A good friend of mine is a filmmaker, and I send him this stuff all the time. And yeah, we are going to see easily before 2030, but probably in the next 2 years, we're going to see the first feature-length film generated by one single person, then typing into a computer. That's going to happen. The very first, and it will basically be the last time this happened, technically speaking, was when talkies came out in 1929, when the movie industry flipped from silent films to talking pictures. That switch happened over the course of 2 years. It happened extremely quickly. The Jazz Singer was actually not the very first talking movie, but was one that got the all attention, and it bears repeating that the entire movie didn't have sound, only portions of it. The first movie that had sound all the way through was a movie called Lights of New York, and it's I've seen it. It's pretty lame. It's a pretty mediocre picture. But it was the first one, and it wasn't slated to have the first one. Warner Brothers that owned the technology, they wanted to save the first movie, all sound movie, for a big production. But for this kind of stumbled into it or something. They were recording it as a test or something like that, and somebody said, "Oh shit, let's just put it out," and they did. And that entire switch of the industry happened in 2 years. Went from all silent to all talking in 2 years. And this is what's going to happen here too. One person is going to do this, and the entire movie, from that point on, the vast majority of stuff you will see will be AI generated, or at least maybe a hybrid. They might use actors for some of the main roles and AI generated actors for some of the whatever. But it's going to happen anyway. Yeah, they're trying to this. I don't think that it ever occurred to the actors that they would be replaced. That's the thing. It's like that was always like the last bastion. Car crashes, explosions. Yeah, we got CGI. And then we got the backgrounds and stuff and sets. We got AI that works. But now they're going to replace the actors. And I can tell you from experience and from my personal knowledge, the people who run the movie studios in Hollywood, they cannot do this fast enough, because no one wants to deal with actors. As a class, they are a pain in the ass. So, and not to mention the fact you're paying these people a fortune to use their image. I mean, the one thing, people are already doing this. Humphrey Bogart's going to be an actor again. He is, even though he's been dead for 30 years. But that's going to happen because it's really easy with AI to basically revive his image. So somebody owns that, but once you pay them for the rights to use it, you can go to town. Crazy. Okay, so we got UFO news, and I love this crap. You know that. I live for this stuff. First of all, Tim Burchett, the congressman, is from Tennessee. I always forget it. I think so. He's saying that he's been told by the military that aliens have 5 or 6 underwater bases off the coast of the Bahamas, off the coast of the United States. That's also been said about the Catalina Island off the west coast too. Supposedly there's and when I say supposedly, this is really weird. There's numerous underwater shots of what is essentially a building. I think it's off the south end of Catalina Island, underneath the water. It's very difficult. People say, well, it might be a natural. But I've seen these pictures. That's not a natural thing. And no one else thinks it is either. And yet no one really is. They haven't gone down there to supposedly they haven't gone down there to investigate. It's like, but these pictures, I mean, they're pretty compelling. I've seen this thing. It looks like a building underneath the water. That's what it looks like. And supposedly the same things happen around the Bahamas too. And Burchett says the aliens have bases there. Yeah, well, okay, fine. That's fine. Then there's an article going around about there's a very famous um, UFO incident that happened in Canada in Shag Harbor. If I'm right, that's Nova Scotia. I didn't write that down, but I'm pulling that on my butt too. In 1967, which some people call Canada's Roswell. And it's about in Shag Harbor. There's a park there. It's on the ocean, and a bunch of teenagers are there doing what teenagers do, probably trying to procreate or something, and they see this giant UFO, this flying saucer, dive into the water, and so they call the local, you know, oh Jim, get your crap together. They call the local, authorities, the police, and the police show up, and what they see is they see a bunch of lights underneath the water at that spot, and they send. I think they waited till the morning. This was in the middle of the night. They sent a boat out there to see what was going on. And all they see is a bunch of lights underneath the water and a bunch of really weird foamy water. And then they got divers. So then this is where the story gets interesting. So divers go down there, and at the time, the Canadian military said they found nothing. And this is what the story is about. The divers now say no, they found flying saucers down there. That's what the divers are saying. And they said they were sworn to secrecy for like 30 years, and now they're talking. This was in 1967. They're saying that the divers are saying that they did actually see flying saucers on the floor of the seabed down there. I don't know how far was it. They maybe 60 feet or something like that. It wasn't that deep. This is right off the shore, several hundred yards. And so, yeah, this has been this story has been floating around for many, many years. But the divers are now saying they're claiming they're talking now. That they said, yeah, they found. Then the other thing is too, and this is really this. It's kind of sort of the same story, and it kind of isn't. That supposedly this flying saucer moved from that location like 25 miles out into the ocean, and there they found supposedly, this is all lore now. The thing about the UFO going in the water, that was seen by people. But the lore was this thing went underneath the water about 25 miles out to sea, and they found an underwater base, which is the reason I'm bringing this up with this story. That's kind of interesting. Are there aliens hiding underneath the water? Well, why wouldn't they? We don't go down there. I mean, I'm not the only person who's talked about this. We'll know way more about the surface of the moon than we do the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. Way more. It's partly because it's in some ways it's harder to go down there than it is to go up in space. In some ways. So it depends how you want to, and it depends on depth too. I mean, we have a good nuclear power submarine can go down about 1,000 feet, I think, or no, 10,000 feet. So what about 3 or 4 miles? What the deepest parts of the ocean are 20, 30 miles deep. The reason it took them so long to find the Titanic is that the Titanic is like 3 miles underwater. So and the pressure down there is pretty bad. It's you know about that those guys that blew their little sub up going down there. I mean this stuff happens. So you'd think going out in space would be more difficult, but it's well, getting up there is, but actually being up there, I don't know. That's a bar discussion you could have with somebody, isn't it? So, and then finally, and this is really spooky as hell too. Um, there are a guy named Max Rempel. He's the founder of the CEO of the DNA Resonance Research Foundation. They say they've discovered in human DNA what they say is alien DNA. Now, people have been looking for this for years because I don't know if you understand this. The vast majority of the DNA of the human body is considered quote unquote junk DNA. In other words, it doesn't seem to have any purpose. And so people, first of all, they've been looking to see if they can find if literally a message is written in it using the 4 strands of DNA as a message code. People have been looking throughout their ages. Nobody's found anything, but this guy says they came to, and this was a very intricate process about going. They took people who said they've been abducted and analyzed their DNA using the regular populace as a control group, and they said they found differences that are consistent among the abductees. That's what they're saying, and it appears now. People like David Jacobs has been talking about this, and Bud Hopkins have been talking about this for like 20 years about the fact that the assertion is that aliens, and probably the gray aliens, are manipulating the DNA of the human populace for reasons unknown, but they're basically trying to create a hybrid of themselves and us. That's supposedly what's going on. I use supposedly in big, huge quotes. But this guy Rampell said that, and their paper has not been peer reviewed yet, but they have submitted it to the proper journals, and they say that from this investigation of these supposed alien abductees, that they found consistent changes consistent among the abductees that weren't in the regular population, which would tend to indicate their DNA has been worked on, wherever you want to put it. No one knows why they would want to make a hybrid race. It's like, or are they they're trying to upgrade us? No one knows. It's like, but the thing is, if this, this Rempel guy said this in the article I read, and the article I read is on the Daily Mail. He said that this is as much a smoking gun as basically UFOs landing on the White House lawn, and he's right. It is. If this is confirmed, if this is independently confirmed by other scientists, it would basically be proof that aliens exist, even though you're not talking to any and you're not seeing any. But because somebody would have to do that, and the only possible way is if somebody was manipulating it. That's it. So, and it's not us, for God's sake. We can barely do this stuff. With the CRISPR technology, which is used to splice genes, it's basically only 10 or 15 years old. So, yeah. Anyway, I want to thank you folks for watching tonight. I want to thank Nils Grevillius for coming on. My God, what an interesting guy. He's really cool. We'll have him back again soon. Tomorrow night, Jennifer Oliver O'Connell of Red State will be joining us. Talking about some of the stuff she's written recently. She's been really writing, particularly, she wrote a whole series of articles about this guy at the superintendent of the Des Moines school districts, who basically his entire life turned out to be completely fake. The guy, I have more credentials to run a school district than he does. But he faked this for 30 years. So anyway, she wrote us that. Would be interesting to talk to her about that. So, and Thursday night, my birthday show, Thursday, October 9th. We're taking call-ins the entire night. Tim Conaway is going to be the guest of record, but we're going to just open the phone lines and you guys could call up. We're just going to have a little good time. So that's on Thursday. Good night, Uncle Donnie, wherever you are, and good night to you, wherever you may be. I'll see you tomorrow night, folks. Thanks. Take care.